Good morning, everybody. If you could please make sure you are comfortable as we are about to take a journey to explore the future of food.
With an empty plate, I set out on this journey to taste the future, to discover what farming and food would look like in 2 decades' time and beyond, and what this means for Aussie farmers. I wanted to understand the critical ingredient of any future menu, the tomorrow's consumer, and some of the characteristics of which Barry Irvine so wonderfully shared last night. I also wanted to delve into the trends and change drivers shaping the future of food and farming. It was a journey that started with a burger. This was not just any burger. It was one that shattered my belief of where food came from. Initially, it was easy enough to dismiss this burger as something grown in a lab with not a blade of grass or a cow in sight. But what if there was more? I grew up on our family farm near Katanning, studied ag science and worked within the industry before returning home to help my dad run the farm. This was about the same time that burger was put to the taste test. And as I wondered where to for the burger, I also wondered where to for our farm. If we look back 20 years, the idea of food and food replicators or robots planting crops was just the realm of science fiction. And the facts in the newspaper were alive and well. Twitter was a sound a bird made. And Google was just registered as a domain name. By 2021, the creator of the lab-grown burger, Mark Post, expects to see cultured meat available commercially, and his company, Mosa Meat, has just raised $8.8 million US to bring it to market. Other cellular ag companies are developing everything from tuna to turkey, and for the pet food market, even lab-grown mice meat. By 2050, there will be 9.8 billion people, and we will have colonised Mars. But what about the year 2203? Presenting at the New Harvest Conference in Boston, the founder of the Sojourn Meat Project peered into the future, surmising farming will take to the skies in vertical farms, with cellular agriculture and artificial photosynthesis being used to grow a range of food and energy in renewable fuel in industrial parks and ponds, with much of the farmland left to nature. My journey took me from the rainforests of the Amazon to the deserts of Qatar, from the paddy fields of India to the cornfields of Iowa. Like a degustation menu, my Nuffield journey enabled me to sample food and farming from around the globe. I've had coffee served by a robot named Gordon, whose keeper on occasion had to clean up the coffee after him. I've eaten at restaurants without anyone serving, and I've left the restaurant without paying. Well, it was automatically deducted off your account via an app. I've visited a hands-free hectare, which was grown without anyone entering the field. And I've driven a harvester simulator. I have wandered through some vertical farms and fully automated greenhouses. And I've shopped at a concept supermarket that suggested what my food preference would be based on my personality. I've spent time immersed in the world of food and ag tech, which until this experience was completely new to me and proved incredibly eye-opening and exciting, and I think will significantly shape Australian agriculture. And of course, I've tried many weird and wonderful foods. What did I find? You've all heard of the 7 Ps. Well, I looked at the 10 Ps disrupting the future of food. These centre around the planet and its growing population and include changes in the home or palace. That will be a buzz of technology with personal assistants that know your every wish before you do. It is about the policies governing farming and what will happen on farm as part of Precision Farming 4.0. The big picture or overarching technologies centre around machine learning and data, around energy and transport, and include fintech and on-the-go commerce that Jason Ruff will talk about later. Then there is the future prosumer. This future consumer will most likely be urban dwelling, and in spite of the rise of urban agriculture and the possibility of bioreactors on kitchen benches, there will be a widening gap between the producer and the consumer. At the same time, these producers will want to know more about where their food comes from, how it is produced, where it is grown, whether it's good for them and whether it's good for the planet. This future consumer will be more involved with policy, influencing policy, so it aligns with their food values. The prosumer is inextricably linked to the planet. Their food choices and voice reflect a desire for sustainable and responsible production in the face of climate change, mounting pressures on water and land resources. The next generation of consumers, Generation Z, have never known a world without the internet or a smartphone. This too is shaping the way food needs to be served. Just as Generation Z have never known a world without Wi-Fi, is it possible that within 2 generations there may be kids who have only ever known meat grown in a lab? Into the future, machine learning, big data and technologies like CRISPR and gene editing will create quantum shifts in farming and food production, all the way along the supply chain. Surely this new ag technology can only be good for the consumer. After all, it will mean less chemical, more efficient fertiliser use, less food waste. According to a Bayer survey of 10,000 consumers globally, 93% believe innovation helps grow more food, and that 73% think pesticides should be banned. And 62% thought GMOs should be banned. However, I was surprised to learn that around 67% were uncomfortable with digital technologies being used to apply for crop protection. It just serves as a reminder that although as an agriculture industry we think all these new technologies can shift and shape our future, we need to ensure that we take the prosumer with us. And as Barry Irvin highlighted, we also need to make sure that we are proactive and embrace change to meet the changing expectations of the consumer. When it comes to the food story and the food on our plate, it is not only the individual stories that will be key, but the story that Australian agriculture shares with its consumers. That will be paramount for the future of food and farming. It is vital not only farmers, but all those involved in the agri-food industry help tell our story. The stakes couldn't be higher. As we know, it's our social licence at risk. And if we're not sharing our story and providing a point of connection for consumers, then someone else will, and they will have their own agenda. The bottom line is, these future consumers will play an increasing role in how we farm. On the plate that was empty at the start of this journey, will be something that is personal. We've already heard from Tim that the plate will also tell a story, and the importance of that story that captures the 4 T's of truth, trust, trace and transparency. The plate will also come with a dollop of convenience and a splash of social media. This personalisation may be a unique product offering, such as the M&Ms with a picture of your face on, and there was a queue to get this done at the M&M store in London. It's also the server in Starbucks calling your name when you didn't give it to them. But they have facial recognition software and they can remember the last time you went to get your coffee fix. This personalisation is also about health and wellness, and there are several startups offering DNA testing services, not only your DNA, but that of your gut bugs. Others additionally will factor in results of your Fitbit and tell you whether you've eaten that extra donut. Without a doubt, the future of food will be about data, and behind all of these personalisation offerings will be proprietary databases on food flavours and you. Maybe the plate will have on it some smart food, or edible electronics, like the ones being developed at the Italian Institute of Technology. These edible, biocompatible, degradable electronic devices will enable active monitoring of your health from inside your body. The plate will have more plant-based or alternative proteins. These are driven by consumers' desires to do what they believe is in the best interests of the planet and better for their health. It includes the likes of these insect-based products available at food tech events in London and Milan. Plant-based meats like this one being developed at the Wageningen University, is made from soy and lupini beans. In the US, I tasted the Impossible Burger, and if you were eating at a barbecue with a few beers, you wouldn't be able to taste the difference. You wouldn't know it was made from plants. It has raised $275 million since it kicked off in 2011, while Beyond Meat has an offering of its plant-based products, also of burgers and sausages. The likes of US meat processing giants Cargill and Tyson Foods have invested in some of the alternative protein and lab-grown meat protein companies. The future of food on the plate may also be printed by a 3D printer like this one that's been developed by Columbia University in New York that aims to cook as well as print. With a third of the food said to be wasted, startups like Toast are doing their bit to reduce waste. They use leftover bread from bakery and crust from sandwich makers as the sugar source of the brewing process. And boy, does it capture the hearts and minds of the buyers. I was at an event in London and just chatting to these Toast people, and a restaurant owner with a chain of 90 restaurants in China came up and said, what can we do? While you won't fill up, you could find some virtual food on your plate, such as that designed by a 3D menu company, which uses augmented reality food and gets diners to choose from the menu so they can actually see the dishes, even if they can't taste them. Globally, if we want to feed around 10 billion people by 2050, we need to do more to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals, and we need to do more to help the countries like Africa feed themselves. Back home, we need to do more now to share our story. That is the incredible story of agriculture and the way that it aligns with consumer values. We need to do more to meet the expectations of tomorrow's consumers. We need to do more now to get ready for a data-driven, global, virtually connected future and seek out the opportunities in disruption. We need to do more now to add value to Australian ag and food tech by having farmers as an integral players in this system and by having greater industry collaboration. We need to do more now to develop new products and techniques around plant-based proteins and heed the messages for animal proteins. And we need to do more now to open the gate for digital farming or precision farming 4.0. In order to capitalise on a future that has leapt off the pages of sci-fi and become that promised by digital agriculture, high-speed digital connectivity for rural regional Australia is non-negotiable. It cannot happen without this. And it blows my mind how powerful the information we will be able to glean from all of these datas and Internet of Things on our farms, and hence the race for this data. But from 2020, 5G will be rolled out in the Netherlands, giving its farmers access. To serve up the future of food menu, Australian agriculture cannot afford to be left in the digital wake of its global competitors. I've sampled more than my share of hamburgers, of everything from insects to mushrooms in the name of research. So I wondered what would be in a Mars burger. That brings us back to the meat patty that sparked this journey. I put the question to Mark Post, who explained that in a Mars burger, it would be the same as an Earth burger, grown in a bioreactor from stem cells, and the system would be fully recyclable. I also asked the Nuffielder what would be in a Mars burger. They listed a long list of ingredients and added, whatever it is, they'd sure like to try one. This is one of the amazing meals I had at Gastrophysics in London. Jellyfish, served whilst wearing headphones and listening to the sounds of the ocean. Apparently it makes the food taste better. It is served to highlight the plight of our oceans and use species that are just normally thrown away. Now that brings us to near the end of this dining experience, but first there are many people I would like to thank that made this journey possible. I'd like to thank Nuffield and all the Nuffielders, my sponsors CBH, my mentor Richard Heath, my family and the many people that helped along the way. I have been inspired with every step of this journey. As well as tasting the future, I have gained an insight into how food will be served to tomorrow's diners and some of the opportunities this presents for Australian agriculture. The future will be deliciously exciting, it will be global, full of flavour, full of disruption and driven by data, and of course those eating the food. As Australian farmers, we must take a seat at that global future food table and not just sit back and enjoy the meal with, of course, some of Becca's wine, but we must seize the future and help shape the menu and help to produce not just change, but the real and insightful change that is not always easy and that requires thinking about things differently. For me, that change sparked by this journey and those I met along the way has been to see things from a more global perspective and look for the opportunities in disruption. Rather than predict the future, my aim was to set a table for the tastes and technologies that are possible and to stir the discussion on the future of food and farming and perhaps what we'll be eating on Mars. I hope that it, along with the information gleaned from the other scholars during the week, provides food for thought. My Nuffield journey has been about disruption and the future, so I'd like to leave you with a quote that I feel reflects my journey, as well as the theme for this conference, which is to produce change, whether that's personal change or transformational change of an industry. Over the next few days, you will hear stories from the other scholars about their personal journeys and how the experience has changed them, the changes they plan to use in their businesses, and the real change they believe will guide the industry for the future.